Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you here today. And we've had quite a lot about COVID-19 and how it has affected development finance. I'm now so happy to introduce Papa Amadou Sarr, Minister General Delegate for Entrepreneurship from Senegal, to talk a little bit more about women and youth and how COVID-19 has affected entrepreneurs with a focus on the youth and women in Senegal. Papa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rumbi, for the invitation.
So, Papa, your ministry has a rapid entrepreneurship delegation fund. And one of the most interesting things I found about that fund is the financial inclusion policy. Why was it designed this way, and what impact have you seen so far?
Well, we have decided 3 years ago, the government of Senegal to set up a rapid entrepreneurship fund aimed at supporting youth and women in particular, because when we did a survey during the rebasing of our GDP, we found out that women and youth are the most vulnerable population that didn't have access to financial services and guarantees and loans to normal banking systems to develop or start a business. That's why the government decided to set up this fund aiming at supporting those youth and women entrepreneurs across the country.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the fund. How does it work?
Okay, so the way it works is basically we work with banks and microfinance institutions to allocate loans, guarantees, equity, and other convertibles to startups and SMEs led by youth and women to help them start a business or develop and expand an existing business. The way we do that is by creating opportunities with them for new markets. And by doing so, we help them access financial services that they would not be able to get in the past, reducing the cost of the loan and increasing the maturity. For instance, the maximum interest rate that they get with our loans is 5%, whereas the normal banking system can go up to 10%. If you take the microfinance institutions, it can go up to 24%. So with our institution, the Rapid Entrepreneurship Delegation, we aim at capping those interest rates and also giving access to the youth and women with access to new technologies through digital financial inclusion.
Okay, so I once heard that you described this as a cocktail of many different things that also includes supporting the entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Indeed. On top of financial services, we also provide non-financial services that is business promotion, and we help them develop their business skills on top of supporting them also for training, but also help them have access to quality services for their enterprise. Also, what we do with them, we create networks of connection between them and other entrepreneurs and help them get access to market. For instance, if I take an example, which is the salt sector, we supported hundreds of women in the center of Senegal to produce a better salt with quality and link them to a company called Patisen that will buy all the salt that they produce for consumption or exportation. This is an example. We also help those enterprises led by women in the sector of crafts. For instance, we help them discover new markets. We help them get the raw material and process it and export to Europe, Paris, or in the United States.
Okay, so can this model be replicated, and how can other countries and/or partners replicate this?
Definitely, it can be replicated. For instance, we're now working with two countries in our neighborhood, Guinea-Conakry and Guinea-Bissau, where the heads of states of these governments have asked our head of state to help them replicate the same model in their country in order to support them set up those lines of credit and non-financial services that will help the entrepreneurs. And we are discussing together also with the African Development Bank, which has given us a loan, concessional loan of $150 million over the next 5 years to support entrepreneurs through a specific program called the program that will increase the entrepreneurship throughout the country and we're working with the African Development Bank to scale this model at a continental level.
Sounds interesting. So this year has been a bit of a crazy year with COVID-19 and everything. How has COVID-19 affected entrepreneurs in your country when we look at access to funding, and how can private capital help to mitigate sort of all the challenges that entrepreneurs are going through right now?
Indeed, the global crisis has impacted heavily all global economies, as you know, and with the GDP growth going downside, and then fortunately, Africa will still know a growth rate around 2 to 3%, according to the recent forecast of the IMF. What is interesting in the case of Senegal, what we did, the government has taken measures initially since March to support enterprises and private sector. By doing so, we have put together some tools that will allow us and the banks we're working with to report the payments of credit from enterprises, but also give them new lines of credit for 3 to 6 months with for supporting the installments, pay the rent and pay the salaries to help them to really weather the crisis appropriately and to not go bankrupt or close the business. Apart from that, we also started incubation and acceleration programs for some of our startups that were not working anymore, but with those financial support and technical support that help them really pass through the crisis so far. Unfortunately, some have died, some enterprises do no longer exist, but what we try to do is to support most of our portfolio to help them weather the crisis appropriately, so that in 2021, when we come back to normal times, they will be doing good afterwards.
Okay, so we described this fund as a rapid entrepreneurship fund. How quick does this work?
Well, our aim is to treat the applications in a month. It can go up to 3 months, but normally with the unique one-stop shop guichet we created, you can come in our offices or apply online, and within a week, we would be able to give you back a response to your loan application. And also, we work together with the tax administration and other administrative entities that are in charge of creating business registry, give them legal and administrative paperwork, and also tax administration to help those entrepreneurs not go around different places to get access to administrative paper, financing, and guarantee. We want to do all together in 1 month maximum.
Okay, so the reason I asked about the rapid element is because when you think of a government department, you don't really think rapid. You think of lots of bureaucratic processes that you have to go through, etc. So how has your ministry been able to do this so quickly? And what is so different? What different things are you doing, and what different things are you putting in place?
Well, basically what we did is we have been created out of nowhere. We are an entity that depends on the presidency, and I have a dedicated team of 120 people that are young entrepreneurs, I would say, but also people from financial background, from engineers background, legal, technical, economists and statisticians that work together with a leitmotif is we want to deliver on time. We're not a classic administration. Our role is not to make things slow or to work as classic civil servants, but our objective is to work with the pace of private sector to help them, to support them, and to get access to resources and all the technical assistance they need on time.
Okay, so this is also a government initiative right now. How can other development partners come on board? And do you need the help? Do you want other people to come on board?
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole new debate about development finance. Actually, what we try to do, and we have been so far successful, is to attract additional funding to be able to have blended finance schemes to support our entrepreneurs and startups and private sector. We have, for instance, got a loan from Africa Development Bank of, as I said, 150 million in 5 years to support this initiative. We have also received a $20 million concessional loan from the French Development Agency to support the initiative. And we have also been able to get a grant from US Africa Development Foundation of $10 million to support specific initiatives related to agriculture and crafts in some areas. And last but not least, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have also granted us $1 million to support a specific sector related to sanitation. And related to the ICT, tech, and startup sector, we got a grant of $20 million from the Khalifa Fund at the United Arab Emirates to set up the biggest incubator accelerator in West Africa to support entrepreneurs and startups. Just to show you that we are working hard to get additional financial support, because with the demand is, I would say, 100 times what the government allocates us in terms of budget, which is $50 million a year. And our needs are at least $500 million a year to, really give a positive answer to those entrepreneurs, youth and women throughout the country.
You talk about this large funding gap. Why is it so important for development finance to also focus on entrepreneurs, especially women and youth?
It is key. I mean, in my past career, I worked at the OECD for 5 years. We've been talking a lot about official development assistance, aid effectiveness, and how aid can help develop African countries and developing world in general. And the way it has been done so far is more public sector oriented, building roads, infrastructure, and sometimes the monitoring can be a hassle. And the global philanthropy also has stepped in, supporting specific sectors like healthcare, combating HIV/AIDS, polio, nutrition, etc., etc. I'm not saying it is not good, but what I'm saying, having this experience at the OECD and also almost 3 years at the Gates Foundation supporting those philanthropic initiatives, and now back to government working to support entrepreneurs and private sector, I realize and I deeply believe that there should be a shift towards supporting entrepreneurship and private sector development, because it is in this area that value creation happens, that the entrepreneurs, in particular youth and women, who are very well trained nowadays in Senegal and Sub-Saharan Africa, that create their own business, create value, create jobs, and contribute to the global GDP growth, rather than investing all in public sector or infrastructure, and that will not so often have a trickle down effect on the job creation.
So do you see this shift happening?
Well, it has started. It can go deeper. I would be happy if at G20 or G7 meetings that there will be a call of action to support private sector development and entrepreneurship to create more jobs. At the recent summit in France with President Macron and our President Macky Sall, they've spoken about, President Macky Sall made a pledge to support entrepreneurship in Africa for creating more jobs and also combating illicit migration flows to Europe. These are some issues that I think the global agenda should be addressing, like they're addressing green growth, climate change, and all other issues related to global poverty. Because I deeply believe that today, with the African population of around 2 billion people, with less jobs in Africa than the rest of the world, if something is not done to create jobs for these youth, there will be riots and revolutions across the continent, and it will have trickle-down effect on in other economies.
Oh, thank you so much, Papa. Those are all the questions that I have for you today. And thank you so much for joining us at Devex World.
Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking to Devex.
Thank you.